Bible Lab.
Recorded 2 weeks ago.
Got another.
So it's not
Or
2 weeks ago. 1 week
videos
ago.
are-
I don't know. I don't know when I found it. I after we recorded, I looked up. It wasn't chimps this time. It was gorillas. There's a really good video.
You're really branching out.
There's a good video of two gorillas 69ing in front of a bunch of kids. That one's pretty good.
Now, which part of that makes it a good video?
All right, let's
Every
start the episode.
part of
Start the
it?
episode. Here we go. Welcome to Babble Lab, episode 4.
I mean, I don't get what you could not like about gorillas 69ing.
I want to know your qualifiers.
It's good. Good means good. If it's two gorillas 69ing, it's good.
If it wasn't in front of a bunch of children,
It'd be okay.
would that take away from it?
A little.
Okay.
Okay, welcome back to Babble Lab. This is episode 4. We're here in the Babble Lab, recording Babble Lab, and we're going to get things going today. We have a lot to do today, I think.
We do have quite a bit to do today.
Yeah,
think so.
we're going to talk about something we've never heard of and then something that we've heard of.
Yeah.
Well, some of us.
we still have to
have heard of
name. We still have to name those.
Yeah, what was that
segments.
segment?
I don't remember what it's called. Let's start things off with something that we've never heard about. So this segment is I have researched things on Wikipedia just by going through random Wikipedia pages, and I think they're noteworthy or might prompt a discussion or tangent or a rant, and then we're going to talk about them. So let's. We pick them up in a hat too. I always have a different hat. That's my thing.
Where's the
What's
hat?
the hat today called?
Yeah, what do
So
you got?
today's hat is the hat that mafia people wear, the bowler hats.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's
classic
the hat
bowler.
I have here. As you can all see the hat.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
it's
Ooh. Helen O'Loy.
That's our topic?
Helen O'Loy.
Like,
Well,
Is that like Helen of
like
Troy?
Irishy sounding.
I've never heard of
it's-
that.
It's Irish Helen of Troy.
I've definitely never heard of that.
Yeah. I don't imagine you would have.
Okay, Helen.
What did Helen do, Jeff?
Helen O'Loy.
Is Helen only a girl's name, or is it like Terry?
I think it's only
In
girls'
this,
name.
I mean, I don't know. In this context,
Helen.
it is a girl's name.
What's the male version of Helen?
Spoilers, Cole.
Is
Sorry.
there?
No, wait, Hellboy.
Like Steven and Stephanie.
Herbert.
Herbert. Henry.
It could be.
All right. Any ideas? Any guesses as to who this or what
I think
this may be?
we did really good with Thomas Henry Manning by kind of getting to a time period first. I don't know if we can really do
O'Loy.
this with O'Loy. I don't know of any
Maybe
modern
like Irish
O'Loys.
potato famine.
Okay, so
We got an O'Loy.
we're thinking Irish. When would an
an O'Loy.
when would an Irish person be famous or noteworthy enough to warrant a Wikipedia article? Low bar.
During the famine.
Yeah, it's
very
probably
low
not
bar.
famous.
There's
and
no
then
bar.
when we had a shit ton of them just immigrating into the U.S., that was a big time for us.
That's true.
Were
Yeah.
the Irish? What side were they on? in
But
the-
you have to
the
think, when would
Jacobite
an
uprising?
Irish woman be famous too?
Just in general?
Yeah, I mean, like women, it was hard for a woman to be famous up until pretty recently.
not-
So women were famous
That's
for very
pretty true.
specific
That's
things.
Not a bad point.
They were usually famous for being the first woman to do something.
Yeah, that's true.
Or they were famous for being like really, really good at something for a woman. It was just the mindset. I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying that was the mindset up
know,
until like 30 years ago.
I have no comment on any of that.
Oh, boy.
Okay, well,
Or they were hot.
if we're using that, then it's
And she's
pretty
Irish,
recent,
so-
like 200 years, right?
Yes, I think.
All right. I'll give you a hint. It is a person, but Helen O'Loy is not a person. It's not. Well, it's not
modeled
a
after a
person.
person?
It's not a person.
But was it modeled after a person? Like it's
It's a thing
What?
titled Helen O'Loy.
Could it be a character?
it like a statue?
or something? Would that be a person? Would be a character?
It might be.
What if it was like the name of a ship or a plane? Right?
Do they usually? I think they usually have one name, like a
it's like-
single word.
Well,
It's like the lady that they modeled the Statue of Liberty after,
You're right.
right?
Yeah, Queen Mary, and
yeah, they can have two.
Queen.
And all the yeah.
I mean, that's a title.
Maybe it's a bomber. Maybe it's the bomber that I can't think of any
All right, I'm
famous
gonna
bombers.
just get to it because obviously you
All
guys
right, yeah,
don't
just
get
give it to us. Just give it to us. We're not going anywhere with this.
Helen O'Loy is a science fiction short story by writer Lester Del Rey, originally published in 1938 in Astounding Science Fiction. Now, why
wait,
is this?
published what? When?
1938,
What was the name of the publication?
Astounding Science Fiction.
That's a little arrogant.
So why is this noteworthy?
Certainly presuming.
It's like Amazing
Wait,
Tales.
Hold on, we're not done dissecting everything you just said. What was the author's name?
Lester Del Rey.
That's like what are those fairy tales where like the person comes from a very dignified, proud bloodline, and they have a lot of money and prestige, and they're part of the nobility, and then they fall in love with like some commoner. This is like the result of that.
Romeo and
Del Rey.
Juliet. I don't know.
Like Blank Del Rey from House Del Rey fell in love with the lowly Lester.
Didn't you just describe Romeo and Juliet?
Well, those were both nobility.
Yeah, but they hated each other.
that's
They were the
true.
trashiest nobility.
Yeah, this is like you were too good to marry Lester, but you did anyway, and now the Del Rey title is sullied forever.
Lester Del Rey of Saratoga, Minnesota. Very exotic.
Right?
Wow.
But it's almost like an oxymoronic name.
Lester Del Rey from Minnesota.
No, wait.
Yeah,
Helen
there's,
O'Loy.
there's
Wait.
a lot
yeah.
of conflict.
I don't know. Is there?
Well, just Del Rey sounds, I don't know, very
Okay, if you want to know
Just
his,
means of,
cool to me.
of the king, right?
Del Rey?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
why would there ever be anyone related to royalty in
Named
any
Lester.
capacity
okay,
in
there
Minnesota?
Actually, I never looked at this yet, but
to be
there actually is a controversy regarding his name.
Okay. See? I could smell
He
this shit.
told people his real name was Ramon Felipe Alvarez Del Rey, and sometimes Ramon
Why?
Felipe San Juan Mario Silvio Encino Smith Harcourt Bray Sierra Y Alvarez Del Rey Ye de Los Huertas.
No, he didn't.
This guy really liked.
He also claimed that his family
These
was killed in
names.
a car accident in 1935. However, his sister has confirmed that his name was really Leonard Knapp. In the accident in
Okay,
1935,
that makes more sense.
in 1935, killed his first wife, but not his parents, brother, or sister.
Okay,
Wow.
back up. The car crash killed his wife?
Yeah, his first wife.
I like how he
So
said
this
it
guy
killed
had-
his family. Did he mean his extended family too? Were they on like a tour bus? Like what did he have in his
Altogether.
head?
My
Let's get
entire
into
family.
Lester Del Rey's head here.
Well, if your name is Lester Knapp, your extended family is also your immediate
well,
family.
apparently,
So I think what he was trying to get across.
And his wife was probably his immediate family too.
Well, aren't all wives immediate family?
Well, yeah, but I meant before they were married.
I know what you meant.
So I think he probably hit on the point that he was trying to make himself sound fancier and literally gave himself of the king.
Yeah,
as
he
his last
really went
name.
overboard with
Yeah.
the names.
I'm of the
you
king.
think?
How many names was that?
Did you not see this? Like, okay.
Well, yeah, but even like his actual, I don't know, pseudonym for writing.
That's the kind of name you have when you're trying to fuck up a database admin.
It's like
You're
Ramon
like,
Felipe
hey,
San
you have a
Juan
character
Mario
limit.
Silvio Enrico Smith Harcourt Bray Sierra y Alvarez Del Rey y de los Huerdos.
but I go by scooter.
you can call me Leonard Knapp.
Lester Knapp. Thank you very much.
Man, I didn't even look at this guy's life. But
Del Rey often told people his real name was
So
that whole thing. Holy shit.
Okay, but was
a dick
so was
move.
this book pretty famous?
no.
Short answer, no.
Let me pull it up. Okay, so
The book, by the way, wait, our subject is a character from the
Yes.
book? Okay.
Oh
Okay.
wait, what was the name of the book?
Helen O'Loy.
Oh, okay, so she's also a character.
Yeah. So the story of Helen O'Loy is two young men, a mechanic, Dave, and a medical student, Phil. They both have very long last names.
Bill Juan DeMarco.
I'm sensing a pattern with this guy.
Pero Silvio Juan Juarez.
They collaborate on modifying a household robot originally meant only to cook and clean. And by the way, it's in the shape of a female individual.
Well, I figured that from context.
Unsurprising.
They are more successful than they intended, despite the robot's household programming. It develops emotions.
That's their metric of more
They were
successful.
doing this in 1930.
Yeah,
This was a trope then.
it's very early.
well,
because
not our modern conception of robotics, but they anthropomorphized machinery at that time.
it looks like a
period,
human with just
like cars and shit. All
cogs.
the robots, yeah, they would have gears
ran
and
on
stuff.
steam and shit. Yeah,
Exactly. If you look at what was that? Lost in Space, the Robinson family.
Still, they had like a remarkable idea of what AI was going to be, and then there was this trope of like, what do we do when it starts having
I
emotions?
don't think it's that much of a leap. Where you see the exponential advancement. Like they went from what year was this?
this was written in 1938.
38. So 30 years before that was the first plane, and like 8 years after this, we have nuclear weapons. Right, so they're in this exponential period of advancement, and I think it's easy to see where certain things could potentially go. AI is not a new concept.
So
Yeah.
at the bottom of this is saying, can a robot consent to have sex with you? So is this Was that part of the book?
Oh, we haven't gotten there yet. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
okay.
Did I jump
Okay.
ahead?
That's a whole
Let's like
thing.
Oh, okay.
Tell
I
us
thought that was
about
like the plot.
the
that you
story
gave
of
us
Helen
already.
It's like Ex Machinima.
No, so they developed a robot who they were going to do just household stuff, but then develops emotions. The robot named Helen O'Loy falls in love with Dave, the
Helen's
character.
hot.
Yeah, she is. Dave initially avoids her and rejects her advances, but after some time, he marries her and they live together on his farm.
Not too bad.
But then the plot thickens.
So it's a farmer who invented this cybernetic creature.
No, it's a mechanic and a medical student.
Oh, that's
Why does he have a farm? He just has a farm.
Yeah, everyone has a farm.
Does this happen to be what Ex Machina was based off of?
I don't know. I don't
Because
know.
it's a
I guess
very
you could just
similar
be
plot
rich and just
where
have a farm.
he's like creating robots in order to, that are going to have emotions of it, essentially, right?
That's always when things get dicey, is when you add emotions.
And when they're female.
Okay.
It is. It is.
Okay, but
Is it female if it's a
Or if
robot?
you're gay and they're male.
What,
I'm not
what if it was a
discriminating.
male gay robot?
What does
Yeah,
what does
that'd
the
be-
robot identify as?
That's a fucking you don't survive.
The robot identifies as what I tell it to identify as, which actually is
That's
accurate.
actually probably
because it's
true. You probably programmed it if you're
running
the
on
creator of the
well, no,
robot.
they didn't program to have feelings, and yet it does.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah. So over the years,
That's just bad code.
Gender is a computer construct.
Are we in the Matrix? Is this your implication?
Some would say.
all right. So we have Helen. She falls in love with Dave. They get married.
What's Dave's last name?
It doesn't say. It just says Dave. He's a mechanic, so he doesn't have a last name.
Classic
It just-
Dave.
It literally just says Dave.
Just Dave the
He's a
mechanic.
mechanic, so he doesn't have a last name.
yeah.
Dave Mechanique.
There's
That's
no
true.
room.
His
There's only room for 4 letters on your coverall.
Yeah, his full name is whatever's on that little embroidered patch on his shirt.
His birth certificate probably doesn't even say Dave.
Okay. So the plot thickens here, though. So far, it's a pretty normal.
Wait, we don't have a plot yet. We just have the setting.
No, so far it's a normal
created
plot.
a
We have
robot.
a plot, and they created they took a household robot and they gave it tits.
It got emotions.
Did it start
married
as
it.
a robot, and then they're like, we need to add
No, it started as a vacuum cleaner. And then it just got really out of hand. He was trying to get the vacuum to suck him off, and then he was like, it'd be better if this vacuum could think. And then
then it could anticipate my needs.
but yeah, so it adjusts the suction a little.
You could just put it on a timer.
I can
You
slap
don't need
it
to
and
give
know
it
it's hurting
tots.
it, like,
And no, you're hurting it.
yeah, well, it's not
Makes it all better.
it's not fun getting sucked off if you're not, inflicting it on someone.
So you don't receive blowjobs. You subject other people to blowjobs.
I give blowjobs, but I'm not the one with a dick in my mouth, if that makes sense.
It does.
I wish it didn't.
Not only not only does that make sense, but now a lot of other things make sense.
It's really all start coming together.
I've never thought about life in that way.
So if you have any complaints, it's Jake at babblelabpodcast.com.
We keep saying that, but have you made the
I did
email
make
yet?
it actually.
You did? Okay, good.
I haven't
Sweet.
checked it. There might be a lot of complaints there already.
I haven't checked it. Someone, one of the people I sent a test episode to, sent me a complaint.
Yeah.
He's like, it rejected the message, and it was
Have him try it again.
I set it up. Yeah, tell them to resend it. I've set it up. I had to expand the maximum size that it can hold.
it got too many complaints
Build
all
up
at once.
quick. Yeah.
It was like
Yeah.
a denial of service attack. It just went down.
All right, so shit's going to get interesting here with Helen and Dave. Helen and Dave are living a happy life.
Who is the other guy?
Phil,
And what was Phil?
he is a medical student.
Okay, and Dave
he's-
is the mechanic?
Yes.
So do these guys live together and it's like this ambiguous
think they're
gay,
just bros.
like Bert and Ernie relationship?
No, they're just friends.
So does the medical student come and go? Like whose robot is this?
Okay, so it was going to be both their robots to kind of.
Oh, they were going to spit roast it.
I don't know. I haven't. I didn't read it. I didn't read the whole story, but it just says that they.
Well, where does it live? Does it live with Dave or does it live with
yes,
Phil?
It lives with Dave now.
Okay,
because it
so
falls in
Da-
love with Dave.
Dave is the mechanic.
It's a very
with the
quick
farm.
summary.
So
Yes.
Phil is a consultant here.
We've managed to
Yes.
make this quick, like stub on
It's
Wikipedia into a
it's
really
two
long
paragraphs.
thing.
That's it. 2 paragraphs, and yet here we are. Okay, can I get to the turning point
I'm
of the
just-
whole thing?
I want to
Yes,
make
yes,
sure
I'd like to know what the
Does everyone
turning point
understand
is.
that Helen has fallen in love with Dave,
Yes.
and Helen is a robot?
Oh, the other guy likes Helen.
Well, let me tell you. Phil assists artificially aging Helen to keep up with Dave because she never would age normally.
Right.
And she's like, I want to age with my husband.
That's
Whose
stupid.
best interest is that in?
Nobody's.
Like
Literally no one. Societies, maybe?
Phil is probably doing it just to see if he can. He's like,
Yeah.
I never thought if I could.
Okay, so it's in Phil's best interest for sure.
For science.
Dave might be like conservative. You know, he owns a farm. Maybe he's like, and this was written by a guy from Minnesota. Maybe he's like, it'll be weird if I'm like 80 and she's still like 20.
Would it? Or would it be awesome?
Well, I think it would be awesome.
I know
but
my
I don't live
wife
on
is going to listen to this, but
I don't live on a farm in Minnesota.
No, he
if
wants,
I was 80
Yeah, who is he trying to please?
and my wife still looked like 20, it wouldn't be like, fuck, we got to age you.
Well, maybe Dave is
Can you
conservative.
just
I don't know.
Can you leather up
Have you been
outside
80?
for a little while?
You don't know.
No.
You might.
I haven't been 80 yet.
Dave might
I might never be 80.
he might be into gilfs.
Yeah, maybe that was the whole thing.
Guilt is a metric of procreation, not age necessarily.
That's why I forcibly age my women.
It's like a fine wine.
It's like tanning a hide.
Yeah, turn them into a MILF. All right, we're going to stretch those titties a little.
I think OLOI stands for.
How do you
old
go about
ladies.
doing that?
Oh yeah.
You don't have a titty stretcher?
No, I don't know how to begin that.
Or a titty steamer?
It's like a raisin.
steamer?
You don't have any of the equipment near.
Well, the steamer would smooth out the wrinkles. That's working against what you're trying here.
Yeah, but you can't stretch it all at once. You got to stretch and steam and stretch. It's
No,
process.
what you want is more of like a
keep the flesh pliable.
you want like a drying shed, like a raisin, like
You hang them upside down.
yeah,
Is that what's desirable?
yeah. If you're into that kind of thing. All right.
I'm not.
So big turning point here. She's aging her. Dave inevitably dies. And
Inevitably.
inevitably,
Well, don't we all?
As they do. And she sends a letter to Phil saying, "Hey, can you dissolve my metallic structure and bury my remains with my husband?"
Wow.
They got married.
Quite the
That's
euphemism.
Dave and her
Intense.
got married. Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. So Phil's just been in the
And she wants to be cremated.
Phil's been in the picture because he's been aging her,
She wants to die.
but now she wants to die because she loves Dave so much. So she
Well, that's a stupid thought.
I'm curious where this is. What happens? What does Phil do?
Okay, so she begs him not to let anyone discover their secret that Dave and her were married because it's robot human.
That Dave was fucking a vacuum.
Yeah, essentially.
Wait, it actually started as a vacuum.
They were spit roasting.
don't
her.
know.
No,
have.
that's a euphemism for this. This
Sure.
robot was designed to cook and clean.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh.
But
I was using it more as a euphemism for this robot was designed to suck things.
okay.
Oh, we got that.
But this was written in 1954, so that he could have gotten any woman.
38.
to
No,
do that.
1938.
That's the
That's the
illustration
illustration on the cover.
Oh, I've been lied to.
Yeah, the cover is
You've been
great.
flim flam.
The illustration here: Android woman, Galaxy, September 1954.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so what happens? What does Phil do?
Okay, so she says, "Don't let anyone know my secret." And then in the final line of the book or story, it is revealed that Phil, who has been narrating the story, has secretly been in love with her the whole time.
Big fucking surprise.
You called it.
Ever since that one time they spit roasted her, he was like,
This is more than a
this
one
whole
night
thing
thing.
came from the fact that the vacuum only had one tube on it. And they're like, if we put a fork in the tube, and then they just kept going with it.
I don't think you should pat yourself on the back too much for calling this. It's a book about two men and one woman.
Yeah.
It's gonna have that plot.
Well, and women were already like objects in the 1930s, and this one was
Definitely
a
in the
robot.
30s.
So,
So it was literally an object.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I could see one day this becoming an issue, actually.
Oh, for sure.
Don't you think?
Yeah, where two guys want. What? Couldn't they just copy her? She's hardware. Couldn't they just copy her files?
It took them a long time to
into
make it,
a
and they didn't
new-
want to do it again. They were out of parts.
well, yeah, but in the
It
future
was,
that
it was
probably
really
won't be.
expensive.
They just 3D print a new one in the future.
Yeah. I know. I don't know.
Hey, I quite like your
Dave,
wife.
it's my turn
Can I
to
have
fuck
one?
the robot. When's it gonna be my turn to fuck the robot?
Yeah, is procreation gonna be a chore when like you have VR porn and sex bots?
procreation is
Maybe that's
already
the
a
fix.
chore.
Maybe that's the fix right there. Overpopulation. Instead, we just stop populating.
I don't think
and then create
overpopulation's a
robots.
problem.
No,
You don't think so?
Well, if you look at first world countries, they're like zeroing or declining right now because as women become more empowered, they have careers and they procreate less.
Except
Yeah,
for the U.S.
sure.
though. Isn't
that-
the U.S. kind of?
I'm looking at specifically
Japan.
like what I consider the first world is like the Nordic countries and things like that.
Japan is
Where
declining.
Women are like empowered the most.
Because technically,
They're
the whole
not full-
idea of
Japan
first
is-
world is America centric.
Well, the first world is anyone who was on the Allies in World War One.
Yes.
is where that comes from.
I thought it was World War II. I thought it was like Cold War. Cold War was
Maybe.
first world is U.S. allied countries.
Yeah, and second world is
second world
Ruskies.
is Russian.
Okay, I might have been confused. Yeah,
And third world is
Neutral.
anyone who was unaffiliated.
right. Okay. Well, yeah, it's something like that, but it's since been co-opted as a metric of your development.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it was then.
But there's like a direct connection to how empowered women are and your birth rates. Like the places where women are not empowered, they have a shitload of kids.
Well, there's also, like you were saying, Japan is decreasing a lot because they overwork.
And that's becoming a problem.
It's a huge problem there.
Well, I think it's cultural too. I haven't been there. Cole, you've been there.
Yep.
But you described it kind of poignantly as it's lonely because it's so crowded.
Yes.
And I thought that was very interesting.
It is. It really is. You go through the whole day and there's people around you all the time.
But no one talks to each other and you're crammed together.
No one talks.
And
yeah, if you like bump into someone, they're just like, oh, sorry. And they like kind of retreat into their corner. And,
Right.
Yeah.
It was a little weird. It was sort of like that in Korea too. That not so much that people wouldn't talk to you.
Which
but,
Korea?
North Korea. When I was visiting North Korea for fun,
Of course, yeah.
As you do. Yeah, there was a ton of people.
For the record, he went to South Korea.
There was a ton of people on their cell phones just constantly. And I know that's a problem in America too, where we just sort of look at our phones constantly, but you couldn't even like see anybody's eyes half the time because they were just staring down.
Is that actually a new problem? I mean, we've seen this post a million times online, mocking that critique of the new generation, where they show a picture of people from like the 50s on a train and everyone's got their face in a newspaper versus now everyone has their face in the phone, you know? So
Yeah. It's probably not an actual
as
issue.
people become more crowded together, they put up more barriers. Like there's this obligation when you're in a sparsely populated area that when you run into someone, especially like hiking or mountain biking or something like that, if you pass another person when you're not expecting to, you stop and talk for a second.
Sure.
When we are on a dirt road, like when we go up to the mountains, and you pass somebody, you kind of roll down your windows for a second and say, what's up? What's going on? What have you seen lately? But when you're in a city and you're near everyone all the time, you put up these barriers and you talk less.
That's also not the same everywhere. Because like Scandinavian countries, people have this huge thing about personal space. They don't want to be near each other. They don't want to interact with strangers.
Well, yeah, we're talking about population density. Are they really densely populated?
Do you think Finland is really densely populated?
I don't know.
It's a barren wasteland.
So does that mean they're all packed into one place?
They get like scurvy.
So they all probably have to. It's like Australia. 90% of it is like, for the most part, inhabitable. So they're just on the coast there.
Maybe. I don't know enough about Finland to continue my argument about Finland.
That's very honest of you.
I think a lot of it, as far as people being able to like sit down and read things while they're like on public transportation, I think it's more of an issue of the actual content they're consuming is what people are worried about. Not necessarily that they're just staring at a thing.
I think even bigger than that is that they're using devices to communicate things that they should be communicating person to person.
Yeah,
so
authentic social interaction is going away.
People rely on, if there's anytime you need to tell someone bad news, you don't tell it to their face anymore. You just text them or you just email them.
Right now, our lines of demarcation for generations are, we have millennials and Generation Xers, right? It's kind of the cutoff of our generation. And millennials are born in 1982. So you were an adult when the year 2000 happened, right? Like that's our marker for some reason. Okay. It's based on years. It should be based on like culture, right? And I think the more appropriate generational like lines to draw, they call it the Oregon Trail generation, and it's people who graduated high school before Facebook came around.
Yeah.
Because that created a huge cultural shift of like kind of how you presented yourself to the world and how you interacted with everyone like in your class socially.
Yeah. I mean,
you had like a real world representation of yourself instead of this almost avatar that wasn't really you. And there's all these side pressures that go along with you. Look at your friends and you're only seeing your friends in these hand-picked
perfect moments.
Right. They go through 100 pictures and like, oh, I look great in that.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that happened. I was in middle school when MySpace was starting.
Yeah.
And so Facebook was, meant for college people initially. But as far as being involved in that environment from a very young age, it definitely happened.
But I'm glad I didn't grow up with a smartphone or all that kind of stuff, because now I see kids and they're getting smartphones when they're in middle school and it's just texting back and forth and pictures and Snapchat and all this stuff. And it just adds another layer onto what you already like. If I have a kid, they're not getting a smartphone.
Yeah, it's weird. So maybe to tie it back into the Japanese thing, the more opportunities you have for social interaction, the more diluted they become, maybe, and the more lonely you become.
Maybe.
Yeah, because you're always imagining every interaction is perfect now. Everything that you see in social media is like the perfected piece that people want.
Yeah,
to
everyone's
put out.
worried about the image they're putting forward instead of just
So I have
talking.
a solution for this problem. Too much social interaction. What you do, you figure out which of your vacuums you like to fuck the most. And then you build a robot out of it.
So maybe I'm not equipped to have this conversation. But I only have one vacuum. Am I weird for that? And I've never fucked it.
All right. So is there more to the story? Or is
No, that was
basically
pretty
the
much
end of
it.
It was a pretty good story.
That's pretty much it.
That was a great story.
Yeah, I mean,
So Helen Oy.
Yeah.
Helen O'Loy.
So it was selected among the stories in 1970 by the Science Fiction Writers of America as one of the best science fiction short stories published before the creation of the Nebula Awards.
I've never heard of a Nebula Award.
Nebula
is a
Awards,
Nebula
that's
Award?
the
Fiction.
science fiction, like the big award for science
Did
fiction.
Asimov win a bunch of those?
Maybe.
Because I feel like if he didn't, then it's
L. Ron
bullshit.
Hubbard won some.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, L. Ron Hubbard was
He's
very
wrote-
good at convincing people of things.
Well, I think he wrote like the most science fiction of like
He's the most prolific
science fiction writer, right?
fiction writer.
Oh,
wrote a
general
lot.
fiction. Okay.
He's the most prolific of several things.
I was listening to that Ron Miscavige interview, and I think
On Joe Rogan.
on Joe Rogan's podcast, and I think he claimed that his son had written, or sorry, not his son, L. Ron Hubbard had written the most science fiction of any author.
Yeah, so if you've made your life by writing the most bullshit out of anyone else, is that someone that you would follow in a religion, you know?
Well, not
Like,
me, but it's not for me.
I don't think a lot of people realize that. I think it's like general information for us, but when you're in Scientology, you can't access that
Is
information
that like,
very easily.
do you guys know what the Hadith is versus the Quran? You know about that?
I do not.
No.
The Hadith is like a different book.
So the
isn't it?
Quran is like their Bible, right? It's like the scripture. The Hadith is approved behavior that they've inferred based on like documentation of, it's like precedent of Muhammad. Like he did this,
It's like the case law.
and that means that this is okay. And he said this at this one time, and that means this is not okay. Yeah, it's like a pattern of behavior prescribed by Muhammad's precedent. So
Probably, is it written by all the current scholars? Is it like the imams that take care of this?
I don't
or-
know who documented it, but anyway, the parallel to L. Ron Hubbard is that how they interpret all of his fiction? Is that maybe this was him like receiving the word of Zorp or
Sure.
whoever the fuck, and
Could be.
It's like new Bible verses.
Word of source.
so they have their holy document, and then they have his greater body of work, and
It's like
that's
an analogy
That's
for
like
how to
their
live.
Hadith.
Could be.
Interesting.
I don't know.
It's a lot to absorb.
I remember when we were at Hollywood, Jake, and we were right next to
Yeah, they were creepy.
they had it's a huge, on Hollywood Boulevard, they have a huge
It looks like a haunted mansion.
Scientology. It looks like a hotel. And they're all buttoned up like hotel.
It has like
They
spires
were
at
very
the top
nicely
of it.
dressed.
Yeah, they
I
were
mean,
nice
sort of
dressed.
like conservatively dressed, but
yeah, no, it was, but yeah, but it was, I was
Yeah,
like, I don't
you
want to
know.
go in there. I didn't,
That's
yeah, no, I don't. You know, it's not for me.
Yeah.
It's not for me.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be very careful around this topic because I don't want to get like a group of stalkers. You know, this is an easy way to get a group of stalkers: is you talk shit on Scientology and then they send a bunch of people out and like.
Well,
I really
think they go after people with platforms who disagree with them. They'll take you down, but I don't think anyone gives a shit if Jake from the Babble Lab podcast disparages their religion.
I mean, Jake
I mean,
made a
we
lot
are
of
pretty popular.
very
here.
prevalent ideas.
So
Not
it's
true.
it's
The voice of generation.
organizations I'm afraid of. It's the IRS,
Yeah, that's a good one.
and then
How about ISIS?
Huh?
ISIS?
No, ISIS is so low on the list. I don't live in a Muslim country. Like I don't give a shit
Yet.
They kill a few Americans a year. I'm like, well, whatever.
But it's always Americans that go over there, right?
Not
well,
always.
no. They had the people they've radicalized, like
Orlando and San Bernardino.
the San Bernardino guy.
well,
that
the
guy inconvenienced me a lot.
The last San Bernardino guy was Christian, apparently.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't look into a lot.
Oh,
of
there
the
was
story,
another
but that
San
was-
Bernardino.
Yeah,
shooter. I'd shoot a lot of people if I lived in San Bernardino.
I feel like this is a topic that we should be careful on because none of us seem to know the actual.
I'd be doing him a favor.
We have a long segment next episode. We were wrong about this.
Oh yeah,
So just know we're ignorant and don't listen
Well,
to
anyway,
anything we say.
the Scientologists aren't really scary, but they have the
they can
ability.
be. They really
have
can
the
be.
ability to inconvenience you a lot.
well, they could drag you
yeah,
into
they're quite
court on
powerful.
trumped up shit. Like they've just run people out of money numerous times.
I'm fine with them. I don't feel like I need to like come out against their thing. They just do their thing,
yeah,
their own thing.
I think if you take a fresh perspective on some of the Catholic precepts and you
it's all retarded.
you compare those to the Scientology, it's almost pretty similar. Like Catholics are almost wackier.
Yeah, except the difference is that one happened a long, long time ago.
And that's for some reason why it's more widely accepted.
Kind of makes a difference though when you're like, this guy existed and we have like people who are still alive who talk to him.
Sure.
And like said that he was full of shit.
Yeah.
You know? Like there's a difference.
They
there.
know he was just a regular guy.
Yeah. Whereas the other one, you can kind of like, oh, well,
people get mystified over time. It can happen.
yes.
Right.
Yeah, so let's not dive into Scientology.
I don't want to deal with Scientology. I don't want to deal with it.
Okay, but I do want to go into our next segment.
All right.
Our next segment is called, this is a new segment for us. We've never done this segment yet.
That's not true.
We have?
We did a whole. Oh, are we doing?
No, we're doing
wrong?
a different. Yeah, we're doing We Were Wrong.
You're going to have to say you
Let's
were
go
wrong.
right into We Were Wrong.
The next We Were Wrong.
I was wrong about
So
it.
in this segment,
Oh,
I have intro music for the segment.
wait, this is our outro.
Hey, did we ever get the fanfare?
I did the fanfare.
Okay.
Okay, We Were Wrong. This segment, we on this. I don't know if you've noticed, but on this podcast, we kind of just talk off the cuff a lot. Sometimes we say things that aren't even close to true, and this is our
Most of the time.
this is our chance to revisit some of those topics and say we were wrong. Which, you know, and that makes us big people. I think it's hard to say we were wrong.
Oh, yeah. We're excellent people.
It's not
we
hard
are.
for me
We're
to say I
saying
was
it.
wrong.
Oh, you're such big people. You're so big.
Why you not tell me? You're so big.
Why not tell me you're wrong?
Oh, you got huge big for being wrong.
It was a
Okay,
terrible Mexican
we were
accent,
wrong.
guys.
Let's talk about what we were wrong about. We've done 3 episodes before this.
Yeah.
We were wrong about a lot of stuff. Let's just talk on a few. And I personally want to start it off with the one that I feel a little like I was attacked for.
That's the whole reason this segment exists is because Cole felt
This is literally,
attacked.
I just want you guys to apologize to me.
So by we were wrong, you were wrong, Jeff.
Antarctic cruises.
Yeah, they're real.
Yeah, they are real.
They happen.
And they look like a joy. I would love to go on one.
They look cold but fun.
Kind of like
Moving on.
So I think a lot of this revolves around me. I was shooting it down because I had one example of anecdotal evidence that I was basing my entire conception of Antarctic travel on. So I had a friend who went on a biology research trip to Antarctica, and Antarctica's a big fucking place.
It is,
It's like
sure.
the second biggest continent or
great
something
place
like
to
that.
go on a cruise.
It's huge. Okay.
Yeah.
So apparently the part that he went to is hard to get to, and you can't just cruise there.
You probably
have
fly
to-
there or something.
He flew there. You had it's weather permitting. It's a very intense trip. That's not to say that 4,000 miles away at the little pointy part that sticks out towards South America, it's not a pleasant little jaunt, and you can see penguins and have a daiquiri and enjoy yourself.
That sounds excellent.
Yeah.
I would love that.
I know.
So, is there anything you wanted to say during the segment, or
just that I was wrong and I'm sorry.
okay?
I have no
that's all I
problem
really.
with that.
That's all I really wanted.
Yeah. And
so we could
actually,
actually
Antarctic cruises do look pretty cool.
They do.
Yeah, because Patagonia
Yeah.
is down there and looks like a awesome place. So I think the strategy for
Patagonia's
us would be stop there.
Yeah. Climb the mountain.
Do a little walkabout and then have
We could probably climb the
cruise.
mountain in a day. What? Like a day, right? We just get off,
You'd see it all.
jump on up, climb the mountain, jump on down, get back by dinner time.
Well, I don't want to miss
Yeah.
my
Drinks.
drinks, cocktail hour.
No, I'm not. No. We'll just do it really quick and we'll jump right down.
That might seem like a weird thing to consider, but the way I'm looking at all these is that so like we've done a couple cruises and it's always been the same cruise. It's been Long Beach to Ensenada, and we all live in Orange County and San Diego.
Yeah.
So it's like a 30-minute drive to go to a cruise. If I'm going to travel to do a destination cruise, I want to make sure that there's like some fun along the way.
Yeah.
So like an Alaskan cruise, where do those leave from? Like Puget Sound or something?
Some of them leave from here.
Really? All the way from...
I think so.
Really?
So that
Maybe I'm
sounds
wrong on
like
that.
a
I thought they
lot...
live in Florida.
We're going to have another we were wrong about this.
Yeah, okay. So based on pure assumptions, that sounds like a lot of terrible cruising for a long
Yeah,
time. Like
sure.
you're just...
Well, it's not
I
terrible.
know some leave from Seattle.
It's the stuff you want. So what you're going to be... Okay.
You have to be water sliding and
we gotta back
gambling
up a
and
couple
eating.
times. Yeah. So on a cruise, you have like when you're on your way back, you're just kind of doing the boat things.
Yeah.
You're not excited for the destination. You're just ready to be home. So you're kind of relaxing and the tone is down a little bit. So you're in the jacuzzi and you're double fisting cocktails.
Yeah.
At-
The Miami
at
Vice.
9:30
or
at
double
nine-
fisting
Pina
people.
coladas.
at 9:30 in the morning. That's what you're doing.
Yeah.
And you're relaxing. I think you'd be forced into that phase of the cruise very early on like an Alaskan cruise leaving from Southern California. What's cool about
Yeah, that
what
probably
I
doesn't
think
exist.
might be cool about an Antarctic cruise is you get to go down to like a cool exotic place, and that's your starting point is almost an end point.
Sure.
And then you get to go see Antarctica and penguins and shit and whatever else is down there.
Yep.
And then come back
That's
and
all
awesome.
that's down there.
That sounds great.
Just penguins.
What? No, they have seals and
Yeah, they do. They have the things
of
that
list.
eat the penguins.
yeah, yep. That's it. There's the fish, and the penguins eat the fish, and the seals eat the penguins, and
And the humans watch.
the Europeans club the seals, and that's the circle of life right there.
That's it. All right. What else were we wrong about? Utah. I see a topic here. Utah. We were wrong about Utah.
Oh, this is a really, it was like a 20-second interaction.
Yeah.
Apparently, Utah actually did ban porn. I think you can pull up the law.
All porn?
It was a while ago. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's...
What about like R-rated movies
like
that have sex?
It was like
probably not that.
2006.
I think it's...
They banned porn, and yet Utah is still the top consumer of porn. So you'll notice the theme we have at the Babble Lab is government tries real hard, and often they just don't really pull it off.
Almost like when you
that's
ban
also
something, people want to do it.
I don't even think it had to do with that. I think it just had to do with religion telling you not to. And
That forbidden fruit thing,
yeah, it's the forbidden fruit. So
Yeah.
that's really where it stems from. Not necessarily the government. It's just sort of strange that the government thought they had to make it a thing.
Maybe that's their whole thing. Maybe they're trying to teach people about the temptation that Adam felt.
Wait, let's think about this a little bit.
yeah.
I want to dive into
Or
this.
Eve.
I think...
Who ate the apple? Eve?
Eve did.
Yeah.
So they probably...
Eve fucked him over.
The snake made her, though.
I'm guessing what happened was they saw the statistic that is the most viewed, or a place that views the most porn, and then they tried to fix that by banning it, which is just not going to work.
No, it's always tied to repression. I've seen like the gay porn numbers in like the Middle East are off the charts. They love it over there.
Sure, that's not my point. I'm just saying the law probably stemmed from trying to fix it.
Okay, so
doesn't work.
I'm going to make a lot of offensive assumptions about Mormon relationships.
Which we can hear about in the We Were Wrong episode next episode.
stay tuned for that. But is it similar to like my experience with Christianity is Catholicism? I went to Catholic school, and abstinence is like the preferred sex ed, and people are really repressed sexually. Mm-hmm. So once you're married, it's game on, right? Sure. So if you're a consumer of porn in Utah, assuming that they have the same scruples about sexuality, are all these consumers that are putting them to the number one spot in porn consumption, are they all like pre-married, which also means that they're like 17, 18? Because they marry young as well, right?
I imagine that's a large portion of it. I don't know for certain.
Because I think in the rest of the world, it's like a wider age range is going to be hardcore in porn.
We should give some background. Jeff,
sure.
Jeff, go ahead.
So I was raised Mormon, so I have just some knowledge from being raised that way.
He made it to deacon, right?
I was a deacon.
That's like level 12?
Yeah. No, that's not quite how it works. It's not like a rank in Scientology.
What's
there
the
are
rank?
ranks, but-
What's the rank where you get the superpowers?
God.
Like 13. You don't have to shit
God of your
anymore.
own planet. Anyways, but yeah, pretty much what you said about the feeling around abstinence is about the same, and that is why a lot of these people get married really, really young. Is that you see these marriages, but that doesn't always happen. You know, not everybody finds their perfect person, and even though a lot of people will just settle to get married, it doesn't always happen. So I think that is where it comes from.
Do you think there's a connection then that like them being such high consumers in porn, do you think there's an age clamp there that relates to their marriage? Like, is it a very young demographic? Because after that, maybe they're just going ham?
I wonder. I still think there's a lot of people that don't get married.
Really?
That they're so... Yeah, I mean, I think it's people try to find their person. It just doesn't always work out. Mm-hmm. And so if you are one of these people that didn't
Wait, actually, they marry a little bit later, right? Because what I understand I don't even know how to describe. Boy, Cole, we picked up that whole flush. I can really hear that.
People getting beers, people taking shit.
So as the character arc of a Mormon, you go through the regular curriculum, you turn 18, you graduate high school, and then you leave for 2 years on your mission. Is that correct?
When you're 19.
Oh, 19.
Yeah.
So you get back, you're 21. And that's generally within a couple years you're looking to get married?
Right. So a lot of the times
it's not as young as I assumed.
It depends. A lot of people only marry after they've come back from their mission. And that's specifically for men, because women go later. Women go on their missions later.
Really?
That might have changed since
Really?
I've stopped
Is that
going.
so they can pump out a kid first?
No, it's more they're worried about their safety when they go to these foreign countries.
So they want to be like older?
Yeah, they want them
less
to be
attractive?
more... Sure.
Well, no. Gilfs, guys. We already talked about this. They're
like
more
raisins.
attractive.
That sounds offensive in America, but that's real talk, right?
Sure.
Like, that's a legitimate concern.
Yeah, I think it is an issue.
If you're a young, attractive woman in these third world countries,
sure.
That's why they should wear their
send more-
burqas.
They send missionaries
They send all the hot young women to like proselytize in like Westwood. They're like, you're gonna convert some like rich people of a certain demographic that are not going
You really
to
toned yourself down on that one. I'm
cause
proud of
problems.
you. I'm proud of you. You stopped.
happened?
You stopped and you thought about what you were going to say.
It's okay.
But yeah, I mean,
You stopped and thought about what you were going to say, and did you notice no one laughed?
That's my character arc.
you just gotta. So, anyways, that's the correction for the Utah.
So Utah
porn ban.
did ban porn, is what we're hearing.
Yeah, can you just Google it for
I
posterity?
thought we already
here?
did that. I thought this is the whole segment.
We've established that. Well, you're really rubbing it in, Jeff.
Well, I was right about a Utah fact, and a Mormon was wrong. I think that's noteworthy.
Utah makes pornography illegal.
What year?
what
Is
says
it Mormons? Mormons are wrong
2016.
about most things.
I'm not a Mormon.
In Utah, porn now deemed a health hazard.
Actually, I probably still am registered.
Yeah.
Well, it's like Judaism, right? You are ethnically Mormon, perhaps. Is that a thing?
Yeah,
because you
maybe.
you intermarry.
What is ethnically Mormon?
not
You're,
really.
you're very white and blonde.
You intermarry.
Like, what?
You intermarry?
Like Jews marry Jews. Don't Mormons marry Mormons?
Yeah, but it's not like a race. Well, I
So
guess-
th-
is
that
Jew- are
makes
Jews
it a race eventually. Yeah, if you intermarry and you don't go out of that, that's what creates an
Yeah, maybe
ethnicity.
you're-
People from
That's all that
Minnesota
makes
marry
it.
robots.
Yeah, but it's not that. The religion hasn't been around that long. Can that happen that quickly?
It depends where you draw your lines, but
Yes.
I mean that's part of the qualification.
Yeah, maybe.
It's
All
a
right,
u-
all right.
well,
Well,
like
the
a
other thing is they
unique
recruit
culture.
people all the time, so that's not necessarily true.
True.
What else
Yeah.
were
They're literally doing work
Are-
to
are
get people
we-
from other cultures.
Are we actually Googling this? Or can
I
we-
Googled it. But
I just want to hear the year.
I didn't Google that. What I'm talking about, what I'm looking at now is this guy saying that, yes, they made a law that says it's illegal, but according to the Constitution of the U.S., it's federally legal. So it's kind of like marijuana in certain states. But the opposite
Well,
of
it'd be
that.
the opposite, yeah.
Yeah,
because
it's the opposite of that. So they're saying they can't really ban it. I mean, they're saying like state they can, but federally.
so like
weird.
how would that play out?
I don't know.
Say I, as a Utah state senator, find out just how much crazy porn that Jake has been consuming
Yeah.
and how disturbing it is.
Well, that should be illegal.
probably
That should be
mainly
illegal
symbolic.
anywhere.
And I throw him into jail
Yeah.
as a health hazard. Can a federal judge then come in and say, no, you need to release him because at the federal level it's allowed? Because federal does trump.
Yeah, I don't know that.
I mean,
And then
federal
they have to-
supersedes.
they have
I
to
can't
send
say
in-
Trump anymore. Federal law takes
federal
precedent.
definitely
Overrides.
trumps now.
Yeah, it overrides. Yeah.
So it was 2016,
Six.
I think it passed.
They
2016.
send in the National Guard at that point.
2016, Utah
Oh.
Governor
really?
Gary Herbert signed a resolution declaring
Gary
pornography
Herbert.
illegal in a public health crisis.
You know who watches a lot of porn?
Gary Herbert.
That's right.
A lot of gay porn.
He says this is a historic day for the good, clean living people who call the state of Utah home.
Why is that? Why does it that happens? That
This news-
I think conservative places are getting more conservative.
Look,
No.
I don't think porn is good or healthy, right? But if someone wants to go watch it,
What?
it's none of your fucking business.
Jake disagrees. No, but why is it that
We
happens?
can talk about it.
That
I
the
can
people-
attribute all my health to porn.
Do you want to talk about it?
No, I don't.
You're not a
I
picture
really
of health,
don't.
Jake.
You don't think that presents a problem? As
I'll
like,
be surprised if I make it another 6 years. Honestly,
with your
Being alive?
with your girl, or
like being alive in general. No, just like surviving that long.
It's not like you yellow that much. What are you talking about?
I didn't expect to make it this far. I'm paranoid. I have a very pessimistic view.
You have no substance abuse. You take no risks.
I drink
In
a
life.
lot of alcohol.
Oh, he's an alcoholic.
that's
for sure.
that's as
Whatever.
bad. That's as bad of substance abuse as you can get.
okay.
It's worse for you.
alcoholism.
Well, it takes like 40 years to kill you.
That's true. That's true.
Like you can go out like a dying star, just like
I can beat your
overnight
record.
with meth. Yeah,
No,
but
no.
You could go out as a dying star with alcohol poisoning.
This is really weird.
That's more going out like a shitting, vomiting
Wait.
star than.
What's weird?
it's like when you die of dysentery in Oregon Trail.
It's almost like there's no separation of church and state in Utah because this is literally
yeah,
the
that's
statement.
like not.
This is a historic day for the good, clean living people who call the state of Utah home. This new law will protect our children and make our state pure from the heathens who go against God's will.
Yeah, by the way, I'm
Wow.
okay with this. I think this is part of how this country was set up.
You okay with that?
Is that states are allowed to have an identity and they don't need to appeal broadly to everyone. If your state is 90% Mormons and that's how you want to frame your laws around, that's fine.
That's
Make
surprising
that,
to me.
You have the freedom to do that, and because no one's being forced to live there,
But
right?
the separation
That
of
hasn't
church and
been
state
true since
is
the-
in the Constitution.
yeah.
That also hasn't been true since the
So-
Cold War.
Are you saying it's
We
okay to
expect-
go against Constitution?
No,
if
you shouldn't legislate. Okay, so it's a very nuanced line here,
Yeah,
but
I would say
you
so.
can't legislate stuff using religion as the example,
Yeah,
but
here we are.
you can use the morality derived from your religion to frame your legislation.
So would saying heathens who go against God's will, would that fall into your
I mean,
category?
it didn't say like
those words aren't great, but the intent like behind how they're legislating is permissible.
it wasn't like the Mormon prophet says that this is good.
Yeah.
That would be a little bit more specific.
It's not right for us in a state 1,000 miles away to tell them how to live their lives.
It is right for us to tell everyone how to live their lives.
I think
because that's how America works.
I think you live in the United States and you have to at least abide by the Constitution.
We go to other countries
Yeah,
and
they're
tell
not.
them how to live their lives.
And they haven't established a state religion by doing that. Like, that's what that amendment is all about.
But do you think it also matters that they're wrong? They're objectively wrong, right? Like,
Yes.
you can't tell an adult they can't look at porn.
I agree with that, but we tell adults they can't do stuff all the time.
Yeah, and we're wrong about
Like
it.
drugs are banned.
That's wrong.
That's just
Wrong. Wrong.
But drugs is like to stop yourself from harming yourself. You can't kill yourself too.
Well, you could say that with porn too, right? Like,
Yeah, that harm thing. Is
you
kinda-
could die from porn. You could
like
just
is casual
know how.
use,
desiccate, you dry out.
Is casual use of marijuana harm? Is casual use of like
that's a
most
that's a different
psychedelics
debate.
harm?
Yeah, that's a whole different thing.
I would say it's helpful in most cases. To
For
have
some people,
casual
We're
use.
talking about things we were wrong about. Why? We went
we
really
opened a can
far
of
down
worms.
this.
Yeah. But
Well, okay,
I think
so
it's
we were
great
wrong.
that I think Gary Johnson said this sentence when he was running last election. That
Different Gary Johnson.
That's Gary Herbert. He likes things to be settled at the state level because it's 50 different like petri dishes, and then you can see kind of what's working out. Like if you live under this religiously motivated oppression in Utah and you start to realize like, hey, this is kind of a shitty situation, other states can kind of look at that and say, maybe we should back off.
But
and let
where do you
people
draw the
what they
line?
want.
Because what the this
well-
southern state thinks that black people shouldn't be able to eat in the same restaurants, but that's just how they think.
Yeah,
We should,
yeah.
Well, here's
have
the
to
other
draw lines.
thing
You're right.
is you said it's like 50
where?
different petri dishes, but you know what you do in a lab at the end of the experiment with the 49 petri dishes you didn't like?
You throw those fuckers away.
Throw that shit in the trash.
Yep.
And we don't do that. We don't like have a nuclear holocaust.
I think this is very relevant to like healthcare, right? Because the healthcare needs of like, have you been to Idaho? People are healthy, right?
Okay.
Like most of like Orange County versus LA, like even at that micro level, the health needs of those folks are very different, right? So if you expand that to the national level and you try and make one broad sweeping plan to take care of the health needs of 360 million people and not factoring in their cultural diversity and the effects that has on their health, it's not a good system at all.
True,
yeah, I think what you were saying though, that to see everybody on like a separate level is fine, but it's a little strange to say that like they can. I guess having it set up so that you can have people in a state have a similar moral code, that's fine.
Yeah.
But to let them, it's just so close to church and state that it's difficult.
No, it's a really fine line. Yeah, but you understand what I'm saying, though, that like you can derive your morality from the religion
Sure.
and then use that to apply stuff. But if you...
But
laws shouldn't
I
be
get what you're
based on
saying.
morality.
It's just really difficult.
I'm trying to apply a broad label to like a case-by-case kind of judgment on this.
Sure, but I think a lot of it, it's a difficult line to draw, just because a lot of it is where does it affect people?
Right.
Does it affect people on a personal level? Does it affect people on a much larger public level?
Yeah. So I mean, let's say like I'm really religious and I don't think gay people should get married, but that's my morality, quote unquote. Does that mean I'd be able to extrapolate that to law for a state?
Right. Yeah, that's tricky.
Yeah, that's definitely not cut and dry, and I think
that's a different level of repression. Telling someone that they can't marry someone they love versus telling someone they can't watch porn.
that's what you think.
But
I 100% disagree.
So it's really hard to draw these lines. Yeah, and it's really tricky to come up with principles and then apply more broadly. But
I disagree with that because marriage is stupid at its core. But porn is fantastic. Porn is hilarious. You know, you haven't lived until you've seen someone take a power drill with a dildo on it to someone in a medieval stockade.
well, actually, it's the better ones are the jigsaw, not the jigsaw, the
Saw.
the sawzall. It's a sawzall.
a fuck saw.
Yeah. So the dildo isn't spinning; it's going in and out at dangerous speeds.
Yeah.
That can't be healthy.
No, it's not. It's
probably
well, not for the participant. It's healthy to consume.
So is that like they ban porn because monkey see, monkey do?
Yeah, because
And it's not
the monkey
healthy.
porn.
No, I'm again making assumptions. So see you next time on I was wrong. But I think it's because sexuality is frowned upon. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeff, do you not watch porn
No,
at all?
I've seen a lot of porn, but I'm not an avid consumer of porn. No.
Huh.
Jake, same question.
Same question. Anyone who says they're not an avid consumer of porn is either lying or boring.
Do you think I'm boring and lying?
I don't know. I
pick,
think
I
you're
don't know.
lying.
Okay.
I think that's the category I think you're in. Sure.
All right, so we touched on we were wrong. Utah did ban porn in some regards, I guess. I don't know how enforceable
Yeah.
it is. I don't know how.
So choke on that, Jeff.
Yeah,
yeah,
damn
Jeff,
it.
you're wrong.
Yeah.
Jeff, do you have anything you want to say?
Choke on that, Utah.
No.
We're supposed to all say that we're sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
okay.
So sorry that I was wrong about the thing.
This last one doesn't look important to me. Something about kamikaze attacks.
You were wrong, motherfucker.
Cole was wrong.
Cole
Debatable.
Cole said no. Well, okay, it is a little bit debatable.
Yes,
but,
it is.
but it's not. He said that they use kamikaze attacks at Pearl Harbor.
Yes.
And I'm using the dictionary definition.
Using the strict dictionary definition, even
that-
though language is built around colloquialism and context.
Whatever.
I don't like that.
It's not wrong.
Are you're really going to take a stand
No,
here?
proceed with what your point.
A kamikaze is defined that we're loading your plane up with explosives and you're going out, and even if they haven't shot your plane, you're going to crash it into that American battleship. That's a kamikaze attack.
My argument was that kamikaze attacks have been the word kamikaze has been extrapolated to be just
any
a
suicide.
Yeah, just anytime you
Run your plane.
run your
something.
yes, and that is documented as happening in Pearl Harbor. So
That's happened in...
I don't want to spend much more time on this. You were technically correct.
I think Jeff was
So
right.
I will say I'm sorry.
Sorry. Yeah.
I was wrong.
Okay, good. That's all I wanted to hear.
That's I know. Okay.
Hey, I'd like to call attention to something. 3 of the 4 of us were wrong about something in the last episode.
No.
No.
Okay,
No.
there's some more nuance here. Jake was wrong about so many things.
Yes.
Name one thing I was wrong about.
Everything you said.
Everything you said.
Name a
It's just
single thing.
Most things.
Democracy is dead and we should have mass executions.
That wasn't wrong. You can't prove that was wrong.
not right.
Have you tried it? Have you tried it?
Lots of people have tried it, Jake. Lots of people have tried it.
Yeah, and then the U.S. stepped in and fucked him on it. You know, maybe you just let it ride. You see what happens. You see what happens.
Give mass executions a chance.
Give it a try. Give it a try. I'm like a hippie in the 60s, you know. Give mass executions a try. Give it a chance.
So if Hitler put his hand up and he was like, hold on, let me finish. Wait, I'm not done.
We were talking about the rights of the U.S. to step on individual states and tell them what they're allowed to do or what they're not allowed to do.
The Weimar was a legitimate republic
We do that on other countries,
all the time.
you know?
Yep.
Although they were allied with someone who attacked us. Other states don't attack us.
Distinction there. So what we were meddling with earlier is we were concerned with people's behavior. And that was our interest, is like for their own good.
Sure.
We do not intercede in other countries for their own good.
That's not
No,
necessarily
we do
true.
it for
Our
own good.
our own
That's not
good.
necessarily true.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily
Usually
true.
is true.
We got
The talking points are it's for their own good.
It's so hard to debate that.
Yeah, like the Middle East was ready to be a democracy.
It's so hard to debate that
I think it was kind of
Intentions-
ready to just be a pile of nothing.
intention.
They're working on it right now.
We could have just
They're trying their best.
we could have just smoothed that section out.
I don't know. Maybe
Finally have some parking.
Anything taller than like 3 feet is just going to get flattened.
I think that's
just-
already the case.
That'd be good.
maybe I'm an optimist. Maybe I believe that we do want to. That's the reason why I have such a broad global military presence, is that we do want to uphold ideals of freedom and
No,
justice
we
and-
have a broad military presence so that if Russia fires nukes at our silos, we have bases other places that can also fuck them up. That's part of mutually assured destruction from the Cold War.
Yeah, we had that to a degree before.
No, it's all Cold War derived.
No,
It's all
you saying we had
post-World War II.
okay. I want to.
That's
put
where
this
the
on the
porn ban
records
came
for the "We Were
from.
Wrong" segment.
Okay.
You're saying we had no international military bases before the Cold War.
It changed dramatically. So previous to the Cold War, we were an isolationist country.
Yes.
The only
Well, no,
time,
not-
the only
not-
time
not
we got
World
our
War
feet wet
II.
it was we Manifest Destiny happened. We reached the West Coast, and then we ran out of frontiers. So we had a lot of jingo people like Theodore Roosevelt that said we need to keep expanding. Cuba was always like presumed to be our next step. So we got involved in the Spanish-American War. That somehow spilled into conflict in the Philippines. Then we learned how tricky it is to deal with like the inhabitants and nation building at that point. We peeled back a little bit, became isolationist. It was hard to get into World War I. They had to do open submarine warfare on our shipping lines before we were able to opt into it. Blah, 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 blah. 20 years later, World War II, nuclear weapons happen. Mutually assured destruction is our deterrent. And the way that we ensured that was if they fire nukes at our silos, we still need assets to be able to nuke them back. So we spread out. We had bases in Eastern Europe, which is what the Ruskies were. The Russians were holding
fucking pinkos.
They were holding
Goddamn Ruskies.
because we had ICBMs long before the Russians did, or the Soviets, I should say, would be better. So what they were doing, they were pointing a gun at the head.
Is that true? I don't know.
It is
because they developed the new rocket technology. I don't know if we had it before them.
We had everything.
We had intercontinental ballistic missiles long before the Russians did, but they had shit pointed at Eastern Europe, which we were using as a hedge against communism. We wanted that area to succeed and stop communist encroachments.
Against communism. So there, you
then
answered your own question there. We do fight for our deals, not always.
That wasn't ideals. That was economic.
I'm just explaining why we have bases all over the place.
That was
I
people
know, I
with
know.
money who were like, this will really fuck up our ability to be richer than everyone else if it spreads. Let's snuff this. It's true. Let's snuff it in its infancy.
Yeah, it's capitalism.
This is a terrible idea
the
because
highest
it'll make
level.
my life shittier.
But the we, the pronoun that in that sentence is different in each system, right? The we succeeding in communism is a bloodline, and the we succeeding in capitalism is whoever figures out how to win hungry hippos.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yes. Capitalism
game.
is basically hungry
It
hippos.
can be
on
anyone.
a-
good game, marketed very poorly
Right.
these days.
It's open to anybody.
Why have we talked about hungry hippos twice?
Because
Because it's a very valid
relevant.
comparison.
perfectly encapsulates economic systems.
I think in business school,
Capitalism.
instead of, and we'll get to this later, instead of having you go to business school, they should just have you play Hungry Hippos for like a month in like a camp. Like you're wearing a potato sack and you're
Yeah.
just playing Hungry Hippos. It's Hungry
you
Hippos
just have to
tournaments.
concentrate on that, right? We'll call it a concentration camp, and you'll go
Yes.
there and you'll just play
Yeah, you
games.
concentrate on Hungry Hippos. You play it for weeks. It's a tournament. You climb the ranks.
yeah.
The people who fail get kicked out.
Until your hand is so calloused it looks like an elephant foot.
Yes. Yes.
Then you say you have become the hippo.
And that's business school.
And that's
Do
business school.
hippos' feet look like elephants' feet?
I'm assuming they're close.
How would they swim?
Kind of
It's just
similar.
A little,
They don't really swim. They kind of trot along
They
the bottom
wade.
and jump.
an elephant's foot looks like it had more to go, and they just cut it off right there. Like, that's enough foot. Just
It works for them.
You're not wrong.
They're heavy. They're
you don't
pretty
really
heavy
need separate
creatures.
toes.
yeah.
All right, let's move on from this.
Do something
We Were
we've
Wrong
heard of.
segment. Let's move into the heard of it segment. So this segment.
I still feel like I wasn't wrong about anything. Just throwing that out there.
Okay, next week we'll have a lot of segments to talk
That's
about.
because
that
you were
wrong.
offended.
All right,
Yes.
heard of it.
That's right. That's right. I forgot about
That's an
that.
episode 1 callback.
For the first heard of it segment, well, not first. For anyone who's hearing it for the first time, heard of it is a topic we've all agreed upon beforehand, maybe a day, maybe a week.
And we've all researched it deeply, right, Jake? And we've come with prepared thoughts that are coherent.
I put a lot of work into everything I do. I don't totally prioritize like the things that make me money and then not do anything else.
Jake phones in most of life.
It's not how I operate.
So this week's heard of it topic is: should everyone go to college?
Yeah, I think that's a cultural imperative we have in the States. It's a foregone conclusion that you should go to college. So the topic is that correct?
Is it?
All right,
Open the floor.
Jake, you want to start us off?
Yeah, so I went to college, and I should have gone to college. I was a good candidate for college. I got a full ride.
What made you a good candidate for college?
Here
Just
we
that
go.
you were successful in high school?
I'm not a fucking idiot. No, it's not really about success in high school.
I think we have logical fallacies already.
Already gone on the wrong foot.
Yeah.
So I actually didn't have great grades. I had excellent test scores
How did you get a full ride?
because I had excellent test scores.
What was the award you won?
I was a National Merit Scholar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that means you have good grades, right?
Good test
It's
scores.
entirely based on test scores.
Oh.
I had okay grades. I had like a 3.8.
I had like all APs,
pretty
so
good.
my grades were also based on test scores.
No.
That's
Well,
not-
it's a
that's how
different kind of
APs work.
test.
No, you take an AP test.
This
it doesn't
was
give you a grade.
the entire national merit thing.
But the whole class is practice testing
Yeah,
and
but you
learning
don't-
how
sure.
to test.
But your grade is not dependent on how you do.
this was entirely based
right,
on.
but it's how good you are at testing translates much more strongly in
Okay.
AP courses.
Let me clarify. This is based on one test. It was the PSAT,
Okay.
which nobody tries on
or cares about.
or cares
Wait,
about.
the PSAT or the SAT?
PS. No, it's the
Are you
kidding me?
PSAT.
Wait, does P mean practice?
It's
Yes.
like practice or
Or
pre.
yeah.
Yeah.
When do you take that?
Junior and sophomore year, you're eligible.
What was
to
the
take it.
high score when you guys took the SAT?
I don't know.
They changed it like 2 years
I
ago.
think it was
2100.
24.
Okay.
22?
When I took it, it was 1600 was a perfect score.
Yeah, yeah.
It was like that for a while.
So like 2005, it changed.
Of which my sister
2006?
got a 1500.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
She's quite brilliant. Anyways,
I got
what did you get?
I got a
Jake?
1350, and that's really good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Depends whether you're talking about Cal State scores or other school scores, because Cal State will take the best on every section. So I either got 2160 or a 2190
Out of
I think.
26.
out of like 24 or
24,
26 or something.
Oh, okay.
24, I think.
It's
Yeah.
pretty high. It was top 1% for sure. maybe higher.
Next
So are you
time
saying
on
you
We Were
are the-
Wrong.
Are you saying you are the 1%?
No, I'm saying I was in the top percentile of that test.
So you were in the top
At the
1%.
time.
You are part of the 1 percentile.
No, that's not what people are talking about when they
Okay,
say the
so
1%.
you think that because you proved that you were capable of taking this one test, you deserve to go to college?
No, I'm saying that because I wasn't a fucking moron and standardized tests are easy and I was able to get good scores in general. Like, I was a good candidate for college because I was going to take that knowledge and be smart about it, apply it in
Utilize
ways
it.
that matter.
Sure. But
It's not just test scores either. Hardworking people, you can make up intelligence and hardworkingness are two sliding factors, right? And they complement each other really well.
Yeah.
If you're really intelligent and kind of hardworking, or really hardworking and kind of intelligent, you're probably going to end up in roughly the same space. The problem is these people that are mediocre at both or terrible at both and still can get into colleges because guess what? We have a shit ton of colleges.
Yeah. And
So-
one almost betrays the other. I think I know some people who are inherently very intelligent, and it hurt them in their later lives because they breezed through the early education system without having to learn like critical thinking skills. They didn't have to learn like structures of thought, how to take notes, because everything just kind of came to them at that level. And now they're in the real world and they're being challenged, and they don't have that foundation of like
Right.
learning how to learn.
they put off everything.
Right.
that
They don't
didn't
have
to deal
strategies. Right.
You need a little of each.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah. I think the sweet spot is being a really hard worker, and then the intelligence is almost a back row to that. I think you can out hustle a lot of people and do better in this world than if you're lazy and smart.
with. Sure.
You can't out hustle someone who's more intelligent than you, probably, if they're putting in the same amount of hustle.
Right.
Generally.
Sure. Yeah.
Generally.
So yeah.
There's also luck.
If you're very smart and you're a very hard worker, you're
Yeah.
going to do well.
Yeah. Well, not necessarily.
Astute observation.
Not necessarily. That's not true necessarily.
Yeah, but it's got to be a higher percentage.
There's a degree of luck. They're all correlated.
Okay,
They're not
so I'm going to get
causative.
things started off here. It sounds like you guys are all saying that, like, no, not everyone should go to college. Is
Well,
that-
I'm against broad recommendations of any kind. Saying anyone
Right.
should do anything
Yep.
is wrong.
you're like, we shouldn't ban porn. We shouldn't. No, you're saying we should ban porn. I'm
No.
confused.
I was saying.
He's saying Utah should ban
I was
porn.
saying
okay.
I'm okay
Should be
with
able
Utah
to.
banning porn, but I'm also pro porn in a way. Like people should be able to look at whatever they want and do anything they want,
Unless they
as
live
long
in
as
Utah.
as long as it doesn't actively hurt someone else. You're free to do whatever you want.
Whoa.
my mind.
What?
Yeah.
Wait, what about porn that actively hurts someone else?
Though they probably consented to it.
Define hurt.
Yeah. If they're consenting adults, we can draw a line further down.
So you can kill yourself if you want to.
Oh boy.
All right. This is a whole nother topic. All right. Everyone should go to college. Let's hear someone's thoughts on this.
Okay, so I don't think everyone needs to go to college to be successful, but
Okay, so in response to the cultural imperative,
Yes.
you disagree.
I think no. I think here's what I read. So I initially I was like, nah, it's probably not that big a deal if you don't go to college. You can just get a vocational trading or whatever you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I did some research. Like Jake, I'm sure was doing tons of research, And the research says, I'm reading an
All the
article
time.
from 2014. It's pretty recent. Is college worth it? Clearly, new data said. So this article is saying that people who go to college with a college degree make 98% more an hour on average than people without a degree.
Sure. I don't even think that's the argument, is that you can't make more money.
No, it's not that you can't. It's not that you can't. It's that you will make more money if you have a degree. It's literally saying 90% more on average just by having a degree.
It's an interesting point, but I think there's a fallacy that it actually helps everybody. And
I think it helps you make more money,
No.
even if you're just having a degree.
Sure,
Just
money. That's not my point.
Is that the
I'm
answer,
saying
Cole? Money is the
No, I'm
goal.
saying like if that's what you're. I mean,
sure. If you measure that as your metrics of success,
I'm saying
that's
it's become
fine.
the new normal, and if you don't have
Yeah.
it, you are shooting yourself in your foot now.
And we talked about that a little bit, as that money is a baseline of happiness, but at the same time, that shouldn't be your goal.
No.
Well, I went to college, and I think I learned a lot of valuable things, and I'm pretty grateful for that opportunity to have done so. I think I would have been better in something that was a more hands-on technical career. And I think that applies to a lot of people that are from a very young age saying that this has to be your end goal, that if you don't go to college, you're a failure. That's a pretty driving line throughout a lot of school.
which I think is totally wrong.
Which is very wrong. You're taught from a young age to achieve your dreams, to achieve success, and that's really important. Which in school, you're taught that the ultimate success is graduating.
So
Graduating
why
college.
can't college be part of that process?
It totally can.
I think you're setting
It just-
yourself behind and hurting yourself if you're going to go into certain careers that culturally we frown upon for some reason, and specifically the trades, but more broadly skill-based careers. Like, I think college is worth it if you're doing knowledge-based careers. Like STEM fields is a great example of this. But if you're doing skill-based fields, your best source of learning is field experience.
But you might not even know if you want to do something else if you don't go to college. You might just be raised, people telling you, you're going to be a mechanic, and then
Yeah, but that
you never get a chance to go to college and learn about new things.
honestly
you-
though,
you
that
can go
happens the
try it.
exact same way if you go to college.
Yeah.
I ended up with a business degree mainly because that's the baseline. You go to
Sure,
college.
but you had the chance to learn about other new things and learn about higher, learning about learning
Sure.
has value within itself.
I'm not saying
Yeah,
that's not true,
that's true.
but once you're in a program, there's a lot of pressure to finish that program. All of a sudden, if you take longer to do a thing,
I did. I
Sure.
stopped doing music
and
after 2 years.
I think that's great that you did it, but there still is a pressure that if you take longer than a certain amount of time or you change what you're doing, that you're seen as a little bit of a fuck up.
Yeah, and then there's this presumption that when you graduate, you have this dream job waiting for you, and we see constant bitching about
Which is-
people who are like,
But that's
Entry-level
that's
job, you
Totally
need 3 years
anecdotal.
experience.
That's totally literally in this
That's true.
article. It says that over the lifetime, the cost of a college, going to college versus not going to college, is negative $500,000. So in your lifetime, you will earn $500,000 more by going to college than not going to college. Mm-hmm. Just by going to college.
Is that based
alone.
on averages or medians?
averages?
See, averages are a terrible measure for this because most of the top
true.
earners will have gone to college. Most of them, not all of them. But
well, the wildly successful people are often college dropouts, like the Richard.
Yeah, so you can
yeah,
argue
but
that.
but think of the majority of people you know that make the most money out of the people you know.
well,
Most of them went to college.
everyone goes
right?
to college.
But-
yeah,
Right. So here's the thing though. They're going to skew all those stats
Yeah, it's
really
true.
high.
Median's a lot more important.
Whereas a huge number of people that go to college have the same job that they would have if they hadn't gone to college, except they would have had a 4-year head start on it. So
So in my field, I think college was a waste of time for me, and if anything, it almost held me back. Like I did because I have a skill-based career. Most of my learning happened after classes, where I just used their facilities to do tutorials on my own and kind of self-taught.
Sure.
They taught theory and the stuff that didn't translate into getting a job.
Into actual
But if you
practice,
didn't, but
getting
if
a
you didn't
job.
go to school, you might have thought to yourself, "I'm just going to go become an air conditioning repairman,"
which is
which is a
fine,
good job.
by
It's
the
a
way.
good job.
Yeah,
It's fine.
that-
Yeah, but you wouldn't be
That's the
doing
thing.
what
a
you
lot
love.
of people don't realize you can go be an electrician and make 6 figures pretty quickly.
Yeah, no, there's nothing wrong. You could still be very successful without going to college. I agree with that.
Sure.
But I'm saying you had the opportunity to think about what you want to do that fulfills you, even if you weren't focusing on it in school, you had the chance to think, even just given the opportunity to think about what is going to fulfill you.
Yeah, but I mean, I was doing that anyway, right? That thought process. Like when I was swinging a hammer for a couple years, you better bet I was thinking about like I want to learn another skill, and I was doing shit on the side to learn that.
Yeah, I think that's the issue. Is it's not so much going to college is a bad thing. It's definitely not. For the right people, it's great. And if you get a degree in something that you want to pursue as like a life career, and as a measure of success isn't just money, it's how happy you are in what you're doing, that's fine. But if you get to the point where you have a degree, you're making a lot of money, and life is just not very fun, you kind of hate what you're doing, that is a lot of thing that people get forced into. So being able to from a young age, being told that like, hey, college is an opportunity for you, that's great. You can go do these things. Yeah. This is sort of like, if they set out like a path of, this is where you would go if you think you're good for technical skills. Like if you found that you were, as a kid, you were making lots of stuff with Legos and you were like doing that. Or if you were the kid that had like the lemonade stand, you wanted to like run a business. You can kind of start seeing a path, and you can kind of start from a maybe even just high school. It doesn't have to be so young, but showing that there's more options. And they did a little bit, but it's so heavily weighted on the college side.
I knew more or less what I wanted to do when I was like 7.
And that's not what a lot of people do. And that changes so much for people.
You know what the hardest part is? You've got high school teachers telling you what the career options are. You have people who literally don't know what industry is, and they don't know what any of these paths lead to.
That was another big problem with my college education. So I did visual and performing arts, and it was like a graphic design, multimedia kind of thing. Where
you're working right now?
Yeah, I do like 3D modeling and marketing and animations and stuff.
Yeah.
What I should have learned out of that is technical skills.
I disagree that higher education is to teach you technical skills.
Well, that's why I was going to college, was to get a job.
Is that why you're going to college?
Should be a big part of it.
That's the problem, I think. I don't think people should think about going to college to get jobs. I mean, going to college...
I think that's the motivation.
I think everything should be boiled down to return on investment.
Maybe it's because when I was going to conservatory, like the music conservatory, they weren't saying this is to get a job. They're saying like the time here in conservatory, they're saying it's to, even all my professors will say, when you're here at college, like you're learning about learning. You're learning about the process of knowledge, and you're learning about like there's a value in having knowledge and learning about knowledge.
They didn't teach me that either.
Maybe that's what it should be, but realistically, if we're taught that, hey, these are the professions that exist, and we'd get a very, very poor view of that, by the way, back in high school. But here's what exists. This is how you can get a job, is by going to college. So everybody going into college pretty much thinks of it that way.
Yeah.
So it's so much better to think about it in the way that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Because I'm very passionate about people doing the things that they love as much as they can and being happy with that.
Well, it's nice to also, the good thing about college is you're exposed to other things that you might not know you love.
Sure.
And you wouldn't have been exposed to that if you just would have stopped high school and done what you did.
That's not
You
necessarily
also
true
get that out in
age.
life.
What?
You get that out in life.
Not always. Not if I would have graduated high school and I would have started laying down carpet, and that's all I did every day, and I went home and then I got married at some point, and that was all I did. I would not have had the experience if I went to college and like, oh, my friend over here was saying I should go check out this art show. Oh, I really like art. Maybe I should look into art more. And then you start finding passions like that as an opportunity that you don't have.
That's true. There's more social
That's really not
prompting.
necessarily true, though. Because the way that the internet works at this point is that there's a broad understanding. You have an ability to look into many, many different things.
From someone who's on the internet a lot. A lot of people aren't on the internet as much as we are. Maybe they're on Instagram or like that, but like we experience internet culture a lot more.
I have two issues with the arguments I'm hearing. One is that we're talking about ourselves, right?
I agree.
Sure. Yeah. I think realistically, like 20% of the people that go to college, maybe even 50%, somewhere in that range, should actually be there. There's a huge portion of idiots that don't belong there.
Yeah.
They should just not be doing it, right? So talking about ourselves is the first fallacy.
We invent a lot of other degrees to keep them busy.
But they're doing it, and it's bettering them for doing it, and they're making more money because they did it.
Is it bettering?
They're making more money because they did it.
The bottom 50% of people who went to college.
On average, they're making 98% more.
You're talking about averages again. The bottom 50% of people that went to college, are they really making...
If they get a degree, they're still better off for having a degree than not.
compared to the expense of the degree.
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
They make over a lifetime. The jobs they can get because they have a degree will pay $500,000 more
On average, again, you're resorting to averages.
It's a good indication. What is your counter? What is your counter
It's not.
actual fact?
It's not.
You're
I'm talking about
all the way.
inherent issues with averages.
I agree that there are, yes, but it is at least one figure.
No, the way you do it is you take a data set that's robust and you take the bottom 50% of that data set and look at what their ROI is. And you say these people probably should not go to college, or maybe it's the bottom 20%. There is a cutoff where certain people like do not belong in college, and then you look for the common patterns in them.
Right.
That's not what we do. We look at the averages of all people who go to college, which is a really shitty way to measure this.
Right.
And we say, look how high they're skewing things. Everyone should go to college because they might be in that category. Meanwhile, the majority of people are wasting tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands in some cases.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think it may be
It's a
like,
very large
like,
skill
like
on a
those-
useless
those STEM
education.
fields. All the engineers and doctors who went to college are making 1,000% more than they would if they didn't. And that's offsetting it.
Sure.
Yes.
Well, okay, so let's look at this from like a slightly different perspective. In that, in America, we have this feeling that like, hey, we do things that we want, and that's fine up to an extent where we actually have things that need to be done. So telling everybody to go to college doesn't necessarily put people in jobs that are important for things to continue to run how they are. We have like I think the statistic was there's 3 million jobs in transport, commerce, and trades that can't be filled. And we need these
transport's
jobs.
going
It's
away.
not that they can't be filled; that no one wants to fill them.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, this is a cultural problem.
Yeah,
as
this
well.
is not.
Yeah.
This is not that.
Like the view of trades has a huge thing to do with everyone going
But-
to college.
no
but
one,
that's
no
not
one
necessarily
wants
true.
to do that work. It's menial and it's not fulfilling in many ways.
Yeah, but a
that's-
lot of people belong in that work.
But what are you
and
going to
that
do?
work needs
How are
to
you
be
gonna
done.
discern
That's
that
my-
I think you get your starting corporate job and it's menial
Yeah, I
and
was gonna
meaningless.
say.
Yeah, but you
until
know that
move
there's
into it and
opportunity.
You start running it. Well, there's opportunity if you start as an electrician and
Yeah.
you're like the
No.
grunt for a while, a couple years, you pay your dues, and then you're telling
I know,
other
but
people what
then
to
why
do.
aren't you guys all electricians then?
I'm doing what I want to do, but I didn't.
Exactly.
I didn't need to go to college
So the
to do
fact
it.
that you're telling people that
My
they should
degree
go
had nothing to do with me getting hired.
You guys are all framing it in the fact that you're all doing fields that you want to do.
No.
and none of that was electricians.
I disagree with that. I think I went to college and I'm in a job that I can tolerate. And I think it's something that I wish I had done something that was more technical skills related, is my point. So I think there's a lot of people that are out there in that same ballpark where they were told this is the right thing for them. And that's not necessarily true. So you might say that those 3 million jobs are menial, but I don't think that everybody would feel that way if they were told these were options.
But if you're arguing that, then you should do it right now because you said you don't need a college degree to do those fields. So you should stop what you're doing
You're
and do.
probably right. I'm not saying I'm not a hypocrite. I'm not saying I'm not a hypocrite, but you're right that there is some
So
money.
here's-
that's
Here's
that-
the other thing.
the degree
Self-discovery
is-
doesn't cost $50,000. You can do self-discovery without spending that much
I didn't.
money.
My school didn't cost me $50,000.
I know,
There are
but
so many
most of the
options-
colleges do.
There are so many options that you can go through
Sure.
school without.
That's usually what people end up spending, though.
I do not agree. It's certain universities. I don't know what the average mean is, but like if you go to any state school, it's gonna be less than $50,000. If you go to any
For 2 years?
for
Total?
4 years,
Let's say 2 years. Let's say you did community college and then state school for 2 years.
Yeah.
In California, if you stay in the UC system,
I'm not talking about the UC system.
I know, but I'm saying this is like a huge
tuition,
portion of
not
schools.
living
And then how
expenses.
many people don't do 2 years? They do 4 years. Even at a Cal
they-
State.
Yeah, do
but
5 or
the-
6.
But the matter of fact is that degree pays dividends.
Not always. Not usually.
That's not true. Not usually. We have the average right
No,
here,
you have the average,
which
again.
is usually
That's not usually.
average is usually.
Average is skewed by high numbers.
Yeah, you're saying like
Okay, well, I haven't.
you're
read,
averaging
I
the
haven't read-
return, but doesn't mean like
okay,
per person.
All I know is that
There could be 70 people out of 100 that had negative returns, but those 30 people
Okay.
made so
The
much
median
more.
would
this
be the
paper
average.
this paper was done by 2 economists. I'm sure that they accounted for like high and low values.
they might have.
You are talking out of your ass, and this is
Even
supported
if
by
they
data.
excluded
not
outliers,
wrong.
even if
Yeah.
they excluded outliers, averages can still be skewed.
All I'm saying is you are talking out of your ass.
Okay,
and this
okay.
is you have no supporting facts.
I'm going to look forward to this on the You Were Wrong next
I
week.
am too.
So okay, you're not wrong in what you're saying, Cole, that he is talking out of his ass. But when you are trying to put a point across, statistics are easy to put forth the ones that you want.
They're not trying to put a point here. All they're doing is a study and
Based
seeing-
on what?
Maybe.
It's just 2 economists who are just looking in.
It's just 2 economists. That's the reason they're not trying to put forward a point.
All I'm saying is that it's okay to, these are probably people who are working at universities who literally want to study is a college degree. They have no agenda. They
have no agenda based on what? Based on what? Everyone has an agenda.
Oh my gosh.
Everyone has an agenda.
Okay, even if it's small,
You have to account for it. The people working at universities are trying to get funding. The people who are not at universities are getting funding from someone who's probably not academic.
All I want to say is I look forward to next week, so you were wrong. Because there will be a long overdue.
I do too.
There will be a long overdue.
I do too when the person who works in data debates.
Yes. I look forward to it because you have no facts.
Capability of using averages on an income measure, which we all know is the number one field they use when they talk about the skew of averages.
All I'm saying is you have no facts. All you have is your experiences. And your experiences are coming from a position where you went through this system that we're talking about. You were successful in the system. The job you have is because you have a degree you have.
Yes.
Yes.
Sure.
And so
but that's not true for my type of job.
It might be.
Right?
They might have never even considered if you didn't have it.
Partially true for my type.
Yeah.
This is the trap here, and this is what I was trying to hit on from the beginning, is that for a lot of fields, it's obvious you would benefit from college. And I think STEM is the classic example.
Yep.
But skill-based stuff, like my ability to concept marketing materials and come up with campaigns and that kind of shit and frame arguments, and my ability to think didn't come from college. It came from technical skills and experience with the material.
But a lot of those companies might not even consider you without a degree.
Yeah, it's very true. You're not wrong on that. But I also don't know that people getting put into jobs that they didn't necessarily want to be part of, that happens quite a lot.
It does. It does. But those jobs are usually better than they would have been if they didn't have a degree.
Sure. I'll agree with that as far as money goes.
What do you guys think about this? That in the past, colleges taught fact. It was information chunking, right? Or schools in general, where here's your times tables, here's what we think about this. It was very fundamental kind of education where they're throwing information at you. And then I think nowadays it's changed from teaching information to teaching how to think, right? Yeah. And it's more it's opinion based and that sort of thing. It's a lot.
Sure.
At least in my art based education, it was a lot of ideology. And you guys know about postmodernism?
Sure.
Can you pull that up on the old wiki?
Yep.
But I think this is the greatest thing in my experience that hampered my education. And I think it's to blame for a lot of degrees going awry nowadays is this idea of postmodernism. And this is a huge problem in politics and political thought and in our culture right now. And the basic idea is that reality is very subjective. It's Jeff, you said this a couple times, that wasn't my truth, right?
Sure.
That sort of thing.
Jokingly. Yeah.
That whole idea is what's being taught a lot. At least it was in my education. And that does not benefit you in the real world. Instead of this degree setting you ahead, it's setting you backwards because there are objective truths and skills and realities that you need to know about to navigate this place. And when they're setting you out in the wild with, well, whatever you think is right, it's going to hurt you. You know?
Right.
My argument is that we are all coming at this from the same point of view as people who have degrees.
Sure. Yeah.
So you might not feel that way. Mm-hmm. If you didn't have the college education, you might be thinking, I wish I would have had the experience.
You're very right. You're very right. And that might be the case. But I still don't think that if you value life based on, or your success based on how happy you are with maybe some of how much money you have, it doesn't necessarily behoove you to go to college.
Mm-hmm. I think what college should do nowadays, especially post-internet, we talked about this a little bit before, how we have access to so much information, it's hard to process it all.
It's very hard to process it.
I think what we need to be taught that we aren't being taught is how to process information. Fight against cognitive biases instead of being programmed with cognitive biases.
Right.
I think the postmodernism thing and the identity politics that you guys see in colleges so often right now are the opposite of what we need to be teaching.
There's just so many debates that you can make because it's why wouldn't you stop education after middle school? Why go to high school?
Yeah, it's a really broad. Yeah.
Why? What is the value of education at all? If you're just going to get all
Sure.
We always said this in
experiences.
math classes. Like we're in pre-cal. It's like, when am I ever going to use this?
Exactly.
Well, I think there's another part of that, though, that there's a lot of things that aren't taught in high school that probably should be based on more modern things in life, like how personal finance works, credit.
yeah.
That's
I
a really
agree 100% on that. Everyone would benefit from that.
Sure.
Right.
But I think a lot of people don't get that.
Yeah.
And that an extension of that, and I realize this is stretching, is telling everybody this one thing and everybody accepting it as truth to go to college is the only next step, is the best next step for people.
And
So-
I think what this data is proving is that regardless you use your degree in your field or not, it is the best step for you.
For money.
Sure.
Sure. Yeah. I agree with that. I bet you that is the
It
case.
affords you the most opportunities.
I think it did force me, like especially like writing essays and things like that. It forced me at a later point in my life to sit down and learn how to like critically think about stuff, and put
Yeah.
structures around things.
Just thinking about this, sort of from what Jake was saying, I wonder how. So a big issue that happens is people go to college, and then they can't get a job for a while, and then it puts them in this loop of, I have all of the student debt that all of a sudden I start have to paying off, and it's at a high interest rate.
Right. And they have all that student debt because so many fuckers are going to college. and
Sure.
Everything's filled up and the demand is so high that they have to raise the prices.
There's a huge skills gap too, and so you wonder that that even just like the people that say that there's like $100,000 is like a pretty high level that people are making,
Yeah.
and that really on average it's 50, and that a lot of those people just don't have jobs. So you wonder how it is skewed that if the average could be like 50, there's $100,000 that a lot of people are making, but then there's a lot of people that have crippling debt and are now stuck in this thing that they never should have been a part of to begin with. I think that's where I start to have an issue with it, is that just immediately telling everybody that they should do this thing.
I just don't think people have an accurate assessment of what college is and what it offers.
Especially at that age.
They opt into it thinking like, well, this is just what I'm supposed to do.
Exactly.
And that's not true for everybody.
So
And you're not worse necessarily if you don't go to college and you jump into a trade. You're gonna crush for a long time. You're gonna
Sure.
make $100,000 in
Right.
like 10 years doing a lot of trades.
You might hate that too, but it might have been the better choice.
yeah.
back to the data point that I was talking about too.
Here we go.
Yeah.
No, because I hate to do
Jake's
this,
back in.
but I literally worked at a company where I was processing college students' income after college.
Don't look at me. You're fighting over
and,
there.
And what happens with people is that when they're reporting these statistics, if they're making absurdly low amounts of money, they went to college and then they became a barista afterward, which is not. I'm not talking shit
happens
on being
quite
a
a lot.
barista.
Sure.
Right? But that's the go-to.
just not a
like,
high-paying
that's what
job.
you're doing now. They're not going to report that income as like, I have a job after college. And what happens is when they take those
Wait, is that
surveys.
true?
When they take those surveys, they don't take people who did not report and put them in as a 0. They take those people who did not report and throw them out of the surveys. So what happens is you have the people who were unabashedly, I took a minimum wage job after college, and they put those in. And then they took the people who got good jobs, and guess what? They all reported their income and put those into the bucket. And then they're like, this is what our graduates made.
Okay, so to cut through this, it might not be to the degree that Cole's saying, but I think it's absurd to say that if you go to college versus not going to college, you're going to make less money. Like, obviously, it's going to benefit you.
I think
Right.
I would argue that for a lot of people, that's true.
Yeah,
And also,
right.
we need a better system of cutting those people out early. These
Yeah,
colleges
at the cultural level. It
that,
needs
are,
to be
that
more-
are just
more
so
dynamic.
easy to get accepted to. You can just go to them. You can give them a shit ton of money. They're fucking everything up, right? There are a shit ton of people, and even smart people too, right? People that could get into good colleges. They really need to not be there. They really just need to go into a trade and do that.
Like if one of the most high-paying jobs right there is software nowadays, developing software. You don't need to go to college for that.
Nope.
Get some certifications, learn on your own, and you're on your way.
That's true. Except the college degree there actually does help.
That's what I mean about like skill-based stuff. No, I don't. If you had a really sweet portfolio of things you've programmed and a load of certifications, and a person also had that, and a college degree, I don't know how much they would really care.
It's hard to get that, and we're just now getting to the point where the open source stuff is catching up to what the paid stuff was.
That's just another trade. That's what I mean about skill-based stuff.
Well,
Like where if you're a doctor, you need a shitload of education before you're really entrusted with handling a person. Or an engineer, we're not going to say, hey, make this bridge for me, and we're going to drive over it and trust you unless you have a lot of
I
education to
think you're
back
kind
that
of
up.
degrading what like computer programming is, though, too, at that point.
yeah,
Like,
it's really important.
there's a shit ton of knowledge that has to go into it to write good
like-
programming.
Yeah,
And theory.
Yeah, but the checks on it, the consequences for your code being wrong.
That's not true.
It depends on your industry.
Banking is huge issue.
Okay, well, they're not going to trust the new guy with that, right? And a lot of
Gigantic
would be-
financial checks.
they're going to put it in environments and they're going to run it a zillion times and
not
they're going
that
to check
true.
it. You can't do that with a bridge, right? You can do your models and everything.
Okay.
But eventually, some fucker's going to have to drive over that.
Just anecdotally, just the other day, so my bank is Wells Fargo. It was just
Shout out.
classic Wells Fargo. You're
This
terrible.
episode brought to you by Wells Fargo.
But they on their actual online security is like really important as far as you having identity fraud handled. Just the other day, somebody posted on Reddit that on Wells Fargo, it requires that you have an uppercase and lowercase letter, but that it's not at all case sensitive. So that stuff leaks through all the time, and it's really important.
That's awesome.
So you could type in your password anyway, as long as you had the right characters in there, and it would still work. So that type of like internet security is really important. In fact, I work with this developer that he's not a college graduate. He's an excellent developer, and he gets job offers constantly from like really high-end places.
he's good
Google,
at what he
Amazon.
does.
Sure, exactly. So I agree with you in this point.
Yeah,
but
your success in the real world needs to be tied to what value do you add to the company,
Sure.
not what merit badges you have.
Oh, very true.
Yeah.
I agree with you there. But at the same time, because he's at this high level, he realizes that there's an insane gap between how many developers there are and how good developers are. And so there's a lot of infrastructure based just on software.
That just means there's a lot of bad developers. Is that what you're saying? Okay.
There's a lot of inexperienced developers that might be
it's
doing
kind
the
of a
job.
hot field, yeah.
But it's a hot field. So there's a lot of developers that might be doing a job that shouldn't be. It's a really important thing.
So next time you're at Disneyland and the Indiana Jones...
I don't go there because I don't want cancer.
Yeah.
Next time the Indiana Jones ride breaks down at Disneyland and you're like, I came here to see the fucking big snake and the giant fake
And the
boulder.
boulder. Oh, yeah, the boulder.
Yeah, the boulder.
Oh, the boulder.
Yeah, we're on the same page on this.
animatronic by Harrison Ford.
Yeah, fake robot Harrison Ford, who I might build him out of a vacuum later to suck me off. And it all breaks,
Just
and then
tying
you
it back in.
go. Software development is just a trade. There are no consequences if you fuck it up.
I didn't say there's no consequences.
And then you're sitting out in the sun.
I'm saying they're different.
They're not different.
You probably have to go to the tiki room.
If
after
some
that.
truck driver
Sure.
dies driving over a bridge and I have to wait in the sun for like 15 minutes because the Indiana Jones ride broke,
your top
I consider
down?
those equivalent
Oh.
issues. Those are 100% the same consequences.
So you think a guy rolling out a game and a guy doing surgery, like the stakes are even there?
It depends on who he's doing surgery on. It's really important.
Okay.
Okay, so I want to talk about one thing that you brought up. I think, Jeff, you brought it up earlier. You were saying that all these people are getting out of school now and there's no jobs. And they're saying, I have so much debt,
not
I have no
necessarily.
job.
No, it's a saturation point. It's similar to Prop 65 labels. If everyone has a degree, does anyone have a degree?
Right.
No one's differentiated anymore. So I think a lot of people get out of school with expectations that don't align with reality. They're told like, oh, I have the college degree now. Where's my job? Here I am.
Yeah. The difference
And they're
there
like,
is
well,
that
there's a
not
million-
everyone has a degree. Majority of people have a degree. And if you're not in the majority, then you're going to be left behind on the jobs that you need a degree for, which is pretty much every job these days. And that's not the point I was even trying to make. My point I was trying to make was that
not every job.
unemployment for people between 25 and 34 is at the lowest it's ever been. 3%.
Really?
Yes.
Thanks, Trump.
No, this
It's
is
all him.
Thanks to people who are
2014.
willing to work for
This
minimum
is 2014. This is 2014.
That's huge.
That's another thing that's fucked up trades, by the way. It's minimum wage.
Well, this article.
Okay, that's a different
This will
thing.
make
Let's
this
get
will
away
make
from that.
Jake
It really
happy.
is.
This will make Jake happy. This article actually does mention that the bigger problem is that the average hourly wage has not increased with the rate that the number of degrees has increased.
Sure.
So they're saying the bigger problem is that the average hourly wage has only risen 1% over the last decade.
Sure.
Which
Really?
is yeah.
Well, the way to get a raise these days is switch jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't get a raise.
I actually
We
have a
don't
couple
reward
questions
loyalty
about
anymore.
that. One, are they only counting employees who are technically hourly? Or are they counting salaried employees and dividing it, assuming they have a 40-hour week?
I don't know. All
that'll
it knows
fuck
is that
up
the
the
average hourly wage for college graduates has risen only 1% over the last decade to about 32.60. The pay gap has grown mostly because the average wage for everyone else has fallen 5% to $16.50.
Yeah, and I think the cost of college is going up.
I don't know about that. I don't think so. Actually, it had. Actually, did you talk about
the cost
that?
of college is going up by
It
a
has
lot.
not. The average,
Really?
the average amount of college debt has stayed the same if you adjust for inflation.
What?
Okay, not average amount of debt, though. Average cost of college. Those are two different measures. So average cost has gone up a lot.
Then why would the debt?
Just while I was at school, textbooks went from like $60 to $120.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah. But it's both in nominal terms and in inflation-adjusted terms. Cost of college has gone up a shit ton.
So they're saying the average debt is $25,000.
Right. Well, debt could change for a number of reasons.
Yeah, more
You know,
people
if
living
there's
at
a
home
cultural
versus
shift that
moving
parents are
out
now
to go to
paying. If parents are now paying for college, that's going to change the average debt
right,
by a shit ton.
or if they're still living with their parents while they're at school.
Yes.
Sure.
I think I would be okay with everyone going to college as long as they taught the relevant shit to survive in like an internet environment,
Or-
how to think stuff. And I don't think that's the case.
My
Right now,
biggest
is
beef,
my big beef
with everyone going to college, I'll lay it out there. My biggest beef with it, the whole thing, is centered around those people that go to college and then they whine, I can't get a job. I'm not getting paid enough. Those fucking whiners that are shitting all over, why was I tricked into this?
Right,
Like, they
it's
had the same
portrayed-
information as everyone else.
Yeah. It's portrayed as a social contract that I go to school, I get the good job. And now I did my part.
Right.
Where's
Yes.
my reward?
And I think that's what you touched upon earlier, Cole, is the fact that it really shouldn't be like, I go to college, I get a job. It's I go to college to learn.
Yeah.
To learn about opportunity.
See that?
and-
Sure.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's
Which
kind
is
of what I'm
excellent
trying to
way
get
to
at.
look at
Yeah,
it.
is that what they should be doing is teaching you how to learn and how
Yeah.
to think, like fighting cognitive biases.
A lot of people are too
We need
dumb
that
to be
more than
taught
ever.
that, though.
No, the dumb people are who need to be taught that.
The dumb people should be put into...
I wrote down.
They should be breaking rocks in the desert
with Arpaio.
We're back to breaking rocks.
and then gluing them back
Decide
together.
that's not a job.
You mean working, right?
Yeah, working.
Yes, working. They should
my
be
dream.
breaking rocks in the desert. We pay them a living wage just to exist, so we don't have to deal with them.
That's way different than execute everybody from last time.
No,
wanna hear your
I can't.
definition of a living wage.
person.
I can't get behind to execute everybody because the number one
Bullets are
rule of
expensive.
the number one rule of
You don't have to
genocide.
execute with bullets.
I've heard that the number one rule of genocide is whoever's declaring we're doing genocide now is the person who gets to decide who lives and dies. It's inherently like inconsistent about who gets killed
The one thing I do know is my brother's doing a documentary right now working
on genocide.
on education systems around the world.
But he is doing experiments on genocide on the side.
Around the world. So he's
fun.
He's gone to South Korea, he's gone to Finland, all these places that have like renowned education systems, and they're the best in the world.
Really?
And they're completely different. Like South Korea is completely different the way they approach it opposed to Finland. And I'm pretty sure Finland is the one that after high school, you either go to college or they set up where you go up, essentially be an apprentice for someone, and you actually get paid
Yeah.
to learn. You get paid while you do
That's
it.
interesting.
To learn what you're doing, and like you go into a trade.
Germany-
So are they saying the
Germany has a
result of that
test.
is good?
They have one of the best education systems in the world.
That's interesting.
But they also don't focus on math, science. They focus on art. They focus on all these other things. So it's a completely different argument, but it's still
Sure.
interesting.
Germany has a test that you take pretty early on, like pre-high school, and it sets you on one of three paths.
But it's too. That's a completely different way because South Korea has something similar. Their whole fate depends on their score of one test.
That's why a lot of them kill themselves.
Yeah, and that's literally my brother told me.
for real.
That's
Yeah.
actually true.
And my brother told me that this person came, dropped their kid off, and she stayed outside of the school for 8 hours, like praying or doing whatever she does while her kid was taking a test, because it literally determines the rest of your life. And I don't think that is the way we should go.
No.
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 not.
That's too harsh.
Yeah. So there's, I don't know, there's so many ways to
They
look
should
at
be
it.
like flushed out naturally. You know,
There's just
let
so
them
many-
in, and if they don't succeed, don't make it this huge thing. Like maybe college isn't right for you, and that's okay. There's lots of other options to be very successful in life.
Yeah.
So my pipe dream is that college, like the education arc, is you have a foundation of facts, you're taught information, that's knowledge, and then you're taught wisdom, which is how to act on those facts, and then the final layer, which is college, is insight, which is a deeper understanding of other things based on other things, if that makes sense. Like you can look into deeper layers of stuff because you know more stuff over here, right? Making those connections is how you really succeed in the real world. But instead, we have this continuation of just fact cramming all the way through instead of being taught like cognitive processes of how to chunk stuff and make connections and survive with a barrage of consequence and information in the real world.
You should give a graduation speech.
Okay.
So everything you just learned was awful. This is how it should have been.
Most of you will fail.
Mic drop.
Honestly, that's kind of what most graduation
You
speeches
need to
are.
learn
Yeah,
how
honestly.
to think.
But I think we need to wrap this one up.
Yeah, we do.
Okay, I want to say one thing though. If you have anything to say about this topic, if you haven't seen about a program, we're on Facebook, Babblelab on Facebook. We're on Twitter, Babblelab on Babblelab.
Yeah,
at Babblelab. Are we on Instagram?
We're on the Instagram.
Instagrams.
The Instagrams.
We have email. It's
The
hello
IGs.
at babblelabpodcast.com. Our website's babblelabpodcast.com. We want to hear your feedback. We want to hear what you think. Do you think everyone should go to college or not? I know we didn't.
Absolutely.
We barely scraped the topic there, but
And if you have topics that you'd like to recommend to us to talk about,
Sure.
please send them to us.
yes, please. I'm getting really tired of refreshing Wikipedia. So if anyone has any obscure Wikipedia articles they want to send me, please do.
Or even just things that we can research ahead of time. That'd be great.
Yep. All right. Let's wrap it up. This has been Babble Lab, episode 4. And we'll see you all next week.
This is the Babylon Ball Game. This is the Babylon Ball Game.